All right, what's up, guys? We are live. Let me get this out of here. I was just filming uh, a new video on the 8 extraordinary meridians, which I'll be dropping on Saturday, so it's going to be exciting. Let me pull up my Instagram feed here. How's everyone doing? It's been a couple weeks. Oops. All right, here we go. So, welcome everybody. Let's see what's going on. I just got back. Well, not just, I guess it's been a few days, but I was in Montana last week studying with my Tai Chi teacher, doing some real Jedi work. It was phenomenal. Up in the mountains, it was absolutely beautiful. Good little getaway, little retreat. Uh, and I don't know, it's a good time. And something I wanted to talk a little bit about. Oh, how's my connection? Oh, okay. Um, I've been my YouTube connection a little laggy here? It looks a little, I'm not sure what's going on here. Hopefully I'm okay on YouTube. Let me know if I'm weird, if my connection's a little weird there. Anyways, I want to talk about, this subject of, really training in personal development and going to the highest levels possible, right? So I've been watching like some cheesy 80s martial arts movies, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone. And it's like, we don't really have, it doesn't seem like this modern generation has these types of like role models of like strong men really like training hard, pushing themselves, becoming badasses, just like learning to uh, push your comfort zone, learn to train through pain, through discomfort. And because of this, men are becoming weak. Men are becoming easy to push around. uh, they become hooked on instant gratification. They're fine with sitting around playing video games, watching porn, OnlyFans. Not really doing anything with their life, right? And so I'm really, in myself, there's been a part of me that's always been so um, intrigued by this aspect of like self-development. Like, what is my highest level possible? What is how strong can I become? How powerful can I become? Not from an egocentric way, but just from this Jedi training. Like, how can I really push my limits to become the best possible version of myself? And this is what Kung Fu is all about. Kung Fu is skill, discipline attained over a period of time of consistent training. And so again, most people are um afraid of pain. They're afraid of discomfort, right? And so when you begin training yourself through this, like again, pushing the limits of your body, pushing the limits of your mind, training with pain, training with discomfort, you no longer become so afraid of these things and you're no longer easily controlled. That's a problem with, a lot of people is they're so afraid of, they're afraid of just discomfort, first of all, not to mention pain and even death, right? And so when you have all these people just terrified of, something that could hurt them, they're very easy to control. And that's what we're seeing on the planet on a mass scale. So I encourage you guys to step up, to push yourselves, to get serious about whatever it is that you're doing and go to the highest levels imaginable. Go beyond what you think is possible, right? And it's the time for us to become superhuman. It's the time for us to remember our true potential and step into that. This journey of self mastery it's not an overnight thing. It's not like you all of a sudden, oh, I'm here. I've done it. I've accomplished it. That's it. It's constant daily practice. It's getting up every morning, getting out in fresh air, getting some exercise, doing your qigong, doing your meditation, training longer, training harder, and just really, really going for it, right? And we need men like this. We need men to become strong again. We need men to push their limits, to train through pain, to train through discomfort, and stop, this pattern of instant gratification. So people are living in this hypnosis under their electronic devices. Like you see people who can't go more than 5 minutes without looking at their phone screen. They're in this weird dopamine addiction pattern. They're addicted to their devices. Their attention span is almost gone. And, that is a person who's easy to manipulate, who's easy to control. Don't be that person, right? Start to notice, what are you focusing your attention on throughout the day? Are you constantly looking for a distraction, constantly looking for that little dopamine hit, looking for that social media notification, whatever? Um, I encourage you to get away from that pattern. Get out into nature, get out into the mountains, go for a hike, uh, push yourself, meditate, develop your energy. It's amazing to me, like the clarity that I feel. I don't live in like a massive major city, but I do live in a metropolitan area. There's a lot of people here. And when I get out into the mountains, when I get out into nature, it's profound, like the clarity that I feel. It's like all this energy just floods into me, all this information floods into me. It's like there's so much clarity, there's so much information, all these downloads. It's phenomenal. So when you're living in this stressful environment, you're in the city every single day, you've got an endless to-do list. You're like, I got to do this and then this, and then I'm going to go, watch porn, then I'm going to do this. Like, you never have clarity. You're constantly bombarded with information, and you're like, oh, well, it said this on the news, this person said this, oh my, what am I going to do? You're out of your center. You never have a second to stop and think, to truly think, to contemplate, to say, is this true? What this person is saying, what I'm being told, is this really true? When you're sitting on a mountain in nature, your feet are on the earth, you're breathing the fresh air, you feel clarity, you feel peace. It's much easier to see what really is, what truly serves you. Have you been following a lie? Have you been following, a manipulation? So what I'm really, really trying to get here is that this is the time for us to really develop ourselves, step into our center, and realize that everything we need is within us, but we need to develop that connection we have to ourselves, to our higher self, to our deeper self, whatever, right? Because when you're always looking for something out here, you're pulled out of your center of gravity, and you will eventually be manipulated and go down some weird paths. So learn to deepen this, your inner sage, we could say, right? Your inner guru, uh, by developing your mind, by practicing meditation, by developing your energy, and you will always be on the right path. So I don't know. It's this warrior training, this spiritual warrior training that I'm so intrigued by, and I'm really stepping up my own training personally right now. And I encourage you guys again to get serious, get inspired, and develop your mind, develop your body, develop your spirit, because we need people to wake up right now, to get out of this bullshit, this unconscious flow of just going with other people's belief systems right now. And that goes on, anytime you're in some sort of path that's highly polarized. Like, it's like, okay, it's us, we're doing this thing, and then there's all these other people, they're wrong, we have to take them out, we have to take them down. You're in a polarity system, in this pyramidal structure. It's like there's this person at the top, we're all looking up to this person, and then we have to fight these guys. That is always a system that gets manipulated and goes down. So learn to have a center within yourself, be a bit more neutral, to see clearly, and don't get pulled into these polarity battles. So I don't know. That's today's sermon, guys. I'm gonna get into a little Q&A here. So feel free to send in your questions. Will, what's up, brother? Ethereal or not says, we're constantly subjected to political and cultural trauma. We need to find the middle path. Exactly. And that's the big thing, is like, I don't know how much I want to go into this, but it's like there's, the whole mainstream thing that's being pushed on people. There's obviously a lot of manipulation in that, but at the same time, there's kind of this counter thing to that, which may also be highly manipulated as well. People are kind of going down this, again, this polarity path of like, this person has got everything, and we need to fight these other people. Whenever you're in that battle, you're always going to be, someone else's foot soldier, right? Tina says, just curious how the spiritual and earth energy in Boise compares to Sedona and the weather. Um, Boise's, it's a good place overall. Definitely not quite the powerful spiritual vortex that Sedona is. Sedona is an amazing place. Overall, Boise's solid. It's kind of a calm, peaceful energy. There's a lot of mountains around. There's a lot of it's easy to get to really cool places. Like, you can drive a couple hours, be in the mountains, be in some amazing, powerful, energetic places. But Boise overall, it's okay. It's going through a lot of changes right now. There's a lot of weird energetic manipulation happening here. So there's been some interesting shifts in energy here, and I don't know how I feel about it honestly. But overall, it's a solid place. There's a lot of people moving here. A lot of people like it. It's popular. So, as far as weather, um, it gets pretty hot in summer. I mean, everyone had a hot summer this year, but it's pretty hot in the summer. Winters are fairly mild. It tends to be really cloudy in the winter and gloomy, but overall, I don't know. It's mild. You've got your summer, you got your four seasons. It's a solid place overall. Francisco Beckman says, I've been practicing semen retention and testicle breathing for a month, but I don't feel like I have that much of energy or wellness. Well, semen retention isn't a cure all. How's your diet? What's your lifestyle like? Are you under a lot of stress? Do you live in a major city? Are you getting enough sleep? Right. So there's all these factors to your energy and your health. It's not just semen retention. That's not a cure all for everything. It's one aspect of a holistic lifestyle, but it's not everything. Right. So looking at everything, are you doing qigong? Are you doing meditation? Are you doing breath work? Are you getting out into nature, breathing fresh air? Are you drinking clean water? There's a lot of things to look at here. Fatima. I bought a half-gallon water jug, so I'm drinking about a gallon plus water a day. Stay hydrated. Brett says, hey, bro, what does your daily routine or practice look like? Thank you for changing my life for the better. Awesome. Glad you found something positive from what I'm sharing. My routine, basically, I get up in the morning, I drink some water, kind of wake up, do some sun gazing if the sun's out, just kind of, wake up a little bit, take a cold shower, whatever. Then I do my morning practice, which is I do about 15 to 20 minutes of like yoga and stretching, just kind of open up the body. And then I do my Qigong practice for about an hour. I do, standing meditation, Zhen Zhuang, then moving practices, Tai Chi, Xing Yi, whatever I'm doing, the energy cultivation. Then I do about 40 minutes to an hour of sitting practice. So like meditation type practice, internal alchemy, energy circulation. So about a 2 hour plus morning practice. And then, after that, I either go to the gym if it's a gym day, crush a workout, or I just, do some work, whatever I'm doing. It depends. And I usually try to get out, go for a bike ride, get some nature, go for a hike, whatever during the day. And then in the evening, I have another about hour practice where I've been really focusing on the internal martial arts in my practices, which is really just advanced Qigong practices, like really pressurizing Qi in the body. So Xing Yi, Tai Chi, Bagua, these are the things I've really been into recently. So I do about an hour of those practices in the evening. And, I do another about 15, 20 minutes of stretching before I go to bed. I've been spending about 10 minutes or more in an inversion before going to sleep. I notice I've been sleeping a lot better from doing an inversion. So I don't know. It's kind of my routine. Mabuz 956 says, when doing lower dantian exercise, I also feel pelvic relief at the same time. Is that sensation okay, or the sensation from pelvic relief is totally different from lower dantian sensation? I'm not sure what you mean by pelvic floor relief, but when you work with the dantian, you may experience some like release or like opening or like activation in the pelvic floor area, the huyin, which is the seat of the jing. It's kind of known that it tends to accumulate a lot of jing there. And when you're doing dantian work, it kind of activates, starts kind of like cooking. It starts to feel warm, bubbly. It's kind of the cauldron that it's known as the cauldron in internal alchemy, because it starts to kind of cook that area. So that may be what you're feeling. So it's normal. It's fine. Okay, Lushinsky says, Lushinsky's, you're so right with the attention thing. My biggest problem is the negativity. I try to manage it, but somehow negative sides of other people really get to me. Yeah, I've been there too, but I don't know, it's a practice. It's kind of like a training. It's like, how do you deal with people who are negative or projecting weird things at you without losing your center yourself? And this is really Tai Chi, this principle of how do you yield to, instead of fighting back and creating kind of this hard wall that someone else can just hit, how do you neutralize that force without taking it on, right? And it's training for sure. Breathing the U says, "What time do you wake up?" I usually wake up with the sun, which here hasn't been till like it hasn't been rising till like after 8 a.m. I've been waking up about between 7:30 and 8 a.m., which isn't super early. I like getting up earlier, but I don't know, I've just been in kind of a later routine. But once we go to daylight savings this weekend, I'll be getting up much earlier. I've gone through phases. I used to be a total night owl, like, I'd stay up till, like, 2, 3 in the morning, but when I got into qigong, I really got hooked on being up with the sunrise and, like, the fresh morning chi, so I'm more of a morning person now, but I'm not like the wake up at 5 AM, like, I don't know, it's not really my thing, you know? I wake up when I wake up. I don't set an alarm or anything. Benji Bliss says, "Nice Jed pillar." Yeah, this is the raw key from Arcturus Raw. Some, Egyptian tech, or probably Atlantean tech, really. G-Man B7 says, "I feel like I have to stop working, but financial insecurity sets in." Yeah, I mean, I recommend doing some work on like money blocks and abundance mindset and things like that. I'm trying to think of people. James Wedmore has some great stuff on that. I like it. I've been really vibing with his kind of business stuff he teaches. He's a little more calm than some of the people I was into before. But learn to trust your abundance and also put yourself on the path of how do I get out of this old system of the slave, the 9 to 5, doing something I hate just to make a paycheck and then drink beer all weekend to try to forget about it. That's an old paradigm. It's not serving anyone anymore. It's falling apart right now. So it's like, what is it you're interested in? What are your passions? How can you integrate that into serving the world? Like, how can you create something that you exchange energy with that other people get something from, right? Matthew Trainer says, "Been practicing 5 animals in microcosmic orbit consistently for at least 3 months. Started speaking to a girl 3 weeks ago and fell back into an old pattern of chasing. Felt very unbalanced and couldn't focus properly when doing qigong. Managed to get back into practice properly this week and feel great again. Realized it was simply my toughest test on the path so far, and I'm glad it happened. Has there been any times in your journey where you've lost focus?" I think this is a great point. This is a great, thanks for sharing that. And this has definitely happened for me. And, women in the past have definitely been one of those things for me as well, where like I've fallen into like this distracted, kind of obsessed, thing with that. Right. And so I've definitely had my tests with that as well. And so it's totally happened to me. I mean, I've never like completely like stopped practicing or anything like that, but I've definitely been through periods of time where I was very distracted, maybe. But sounds like you got through it. Um, and interestingly, it was like when I completely let go of that, like this kind of neediness, this infatuation towards the other sex, and just be like, hey, I love myself. I want to focus my attention on myself, and like when I'm doing, uh, just basically this stopping this like chase. It's like, I need this person. I need this person. Oh, what are they doing? I should text them. And that when I got out of that, that's when I really attracted an amazing partner. And there was no like obsessiveness with it. It was a very casual thing in the beginning. So yeah, I've definitely been through that as well. And your practice will always go through the journey of self mastery. I say this a lot, but it's not a linear path. It's not like, okay, everything gets perfectly better every single day, you're on the straight upward curve. It's more of a spiral. You go through periods of like intense inspiration, like you're really on it, you make a lot of progress, then life happens, things come up, and like maybe you step down a bit, but overall, you know you're on this upward curve. Overall, it's this spiral of growth. Okay, guys, I got to grab my charging cable really quick. Give me 1 second. I forgot to my computer's dying here. All right. We have power. I'm in my practice room today. This is where I do my cultivation. See my staffs in the background, but doing some Shingi staff practice. I'm going to make a video on this Shingi dark fire practice. It's insanely powerful. Works with the Dantian, like projecting chi through your arms. It's crazy. It's just a static standing practice with a staff, but it's insane. I'm going to share a video on this. I teach this in Immortal Energy Arts. Aerosmith says, Aerosmith says, what's the best way to relieve urges? Well, I mean, you're probably always going to have urges, right? But the thing is, your willpower develops to where you don't give into them. Like we have this kind of human condition of like, anytime we have the slightest impulse, we feel like we should act on it because our willpower is weak, right? So first of all, you develop your willpower to, you're like, okay, I have this kind of a desire to do this, but I'm not going to do it because it's not going to do me any good. That takes training, obviously. It takes strengthening your willpower, but overall, having a strong practice. For me, doing qigong, working with the microcosmic orbits, like how do I create this new pathway of energy so that you give this kind of this urge, this energy in your body another outlet, basically, right? Doing creative things. For me, it's playing music. If I have like, maybe in the beginning I had some weird sexual urge, I pick up my guitar and start playing, and like all this amazing music would flow out because it's that pure creative energy. I'm giving it another way to be expressed and completed, right? It's all about how do you reach completion with this kind of energetic thing that you're experiencing, this base level energy, which is really, it wants to create, it wants to connect. So how do you create and connect without some sort of doing something that's depleting you, right? It's not about like suppressing your sexual energy. It's about giving it a new outlet or a new way to be expressed and not caving into, what you used to want to do with it, right? Nick Sabag, thanks, brother. Glad you're enjoying the work. Ethereal or Not says, do you have favorite shows, games, or guilty pleasures? I don't know. I wouldn't say I have like guilty pleasures. I'm not guilty about anything I do, but I will say that I play video games occasionally. It was a year, 2 years ago. I bought a Nintendo Switch. Mariah and I, we got this house together. Like, let's get a Nintendo so that we're not like trying to be productive 24/7. So on the weekends, I play like a couple hours on Nintendo. I'm a beast on Smash Bros. I will say that. So I'll say that's a guilty pleasure. I don't spend much time doing it. If it was like something I consistently did, but it's just like, okay, helps me relax on the weekends and not feel like I need to do a million things, basically, right? So we'll say that. Santi Rosal says, I ejaculated 2 times in one day after some time retaining. I almost got sick. I had to fast and recuperate, all day sleeping. Yeah, I don't recommend ejaculating twice in a day. It'll probably wipe you out, as you learned. Unless you're like, if you have a ton of energy, you're super healthy, super vibrant, then it may not be a big deal. But for most guys, it's not going to be great. So now you know. Dylan, what's up, brother? Says, hey, Johnathan, do sexual kung fu practices, energy cultivation prevent and get rid of the flat line during retention? Hope you're well, buddy. In my experience, yes, overall. This thing, the flat line, which is basically, the theory is that you've been, jerking off to porn every day and creating this weird, you have these weird arousal dopamine response in your brain. You're a little jacked up from that, right? And then you stop doing that, and there's this rewiring process. And so as your brain receptors kind of heal and things change in your body, you feel a bit low energy for a period of time. So that's kind of the flat line, which is pretty normal when you're first doing this. But in general, it's important to understand that you're always going to have these ups and downs in your energy. Like if you haven't watched porn in 2 years and you say you're experiencing flat line, it's probably not what it is. It's probably just, you're a little stagnant with your energy, or maybe your energy is low that day. You didn't sleep well. You've been, you need some nature time, you need some quiet time, whatever, right? So there's a lot of things this actually is. But overall, I didn't really experience this thing in my practice because I had a strong qigong practice. It's keeping my energy high, keeping it balanced and smooth with my daily practice, qigong and meditation and internal alchemy practices. I mean, it's not to say I don't have my ups and downs, but overall, it's helped me stay pretty solid. Matthew Trainer says, have you done any work to consciously cultivate a relationship with pure feminine Shakti energy? Yeah, I mean, I actually didn't have to do too much work to do this because I had a lot of feminine energy myself. I used to be much more of a yin kind of feminine kind of guy. I was kind of the beta male for a long time. So it would because for various reasons, my upbringing, I was around a lot of women, things like that. So I had a stronger connection to my feminine than I did with my masculine. And it wasn't until really getting into sexual kung fu practices that I started really connecting with my masculine. So that's what I needed to work on the most was really connecting with my masculine, my Shiva, right? Because I had this kind of weird relationship with my dad. And so I spent a lot of my life being like, I don't want to be like my dad. I want to be this, kind of passive pussy, really, right? I mean, not to be, whatever about this, but overall, it's this interesting thing that I'm learning about this male, female, masculine, feminine dynamic. And, but yeah, basically I used to have a lot more feminine energy. And I really, stepped into my masculine practicing sexual kung fu, semen retention, getting into weightlifting, all these things. Siciliano says the 12-week course I bought lasts forever, right? Yes, when you purchase the 12-week course, you have lifetime access, but you will always have the course. Brett says, any lucid dreaming tips? What I found the most effective was, well, first of all, you have to get in the habit of like questioning your state. You're like, am I in a dream right now? Because there's a, 20% chance, or maybe it's more than that, you spend however much time of your life sleeping, there's a 20% chance or more that you're dreaming right now, right? So you get in the habit of throughout the day being like, oh, am I dreaming? And you really check in. You do reality checks, like trying to push your hand through your other hand, reading text twice because it changes in your dream, flipping on a light switch. They don't really work when you're dreaming. All these reality checks. You get in the habit of doing this, questioning your state. Am I dreaming right now? So you can set there's apps that remind you every hour to do a reality check. So that helps you kind of like get in that mindset and make that a habit. But as far as like techniques for lucid dreaming, the most effective thing I found was, I think it's called the wake back to bed technique, where you set an alarm to wake you up after about 4 to 5 hours of sleeping so that you have some, recharge. Because if you try to lucid dream when you go to bed at night, you drop into that, you're just not very conscious because you have to be conscious. It's this paradox of you have to, fall asleep, but you also have to be mentally alert and kind of awake at the same time, right? So you set an alarm from after 4 to 5 hours of sleep to wake you up. And then I recommend staying up for at least like 20 minutes, maybe like read about lucid dreaming and really get in the mindset of like, okay, when I go back to sleep, I'm going to go into a lucid dream. And then you go back to sleep. And with strong intention, often go to lucid dream. I had really good success with that method. You can also use that to directly go into a dream state, like consciously, it's one of the weirdest things I've ever experienced. I did this once. I did this wake back to bed technique, and then I really stayed aware as my body was falling asleep, and my mind never fell asleep. So I experienced like the body going into sleep paralysis. It's the weirdest thing. It's weirder than any drug. It's like your whole body feels like electricity's moving through it. You start hallucinating, like it sounds like there's things like banging on your door. It's very bizarre. It can be quite frightening. So, anyways, lucid dreaming is pretty badass. Mabuz says it's also very easy to lucid dream during daylight, like taking a nap at noon. Personally, I have a hard time dropping into a sleep deep enough to get REM sleep during the daytime, but maybe that works for some people. I'm not much of a napper personally. Okay, Lucius asks, best exercises for sleep apnea. Are there any? What does Chinese medicine say about this disease? Thanks to all your work. I'm going to sleep now to recharge. I'm not an expert on this, but I have understood about a little bit about this. I personally went through some periods where I was basically kind of experiencing this. I woke up in the middle of the night suffocating. It was always a very, very uncomfortable, terrifying experience. Of like I wake up like unable to breathe, and I'm like, you know. And I noticed it was periods of my life where I was under stress. So stress is probably number one with this. It can also be kind of a sleep position. Um, I know that there's like, what am I trying to say here? Like mouth things you put in your mouth, like dental devices, like mouth guard things that help put your mouth into a shape to where you breathe properly when you sleep. Because sleep apnea is, you're basically not breathing, right? You stop breathing, which is not good. So, again, I would, I would actually go to an expert about this, because if you have sleep apnea, it's wreaking havoc on your health and your life. You're not sleeping properly, you're not resting properly. So I would definitely find someone to help with this for sure. Powell, what's up, brother? Says, how are you? Have you ever done Kundalini Yoga? Yes, I did Kundalini Yoga for about 2 years. It was my first real practice. It was incredibly ungrounding for me. It was very unbalancing. I got hooked on it because, it gets you high. You do these intense breathings, intense kriyas, and you just blast off. The last Kundalini Yoga class I went to, it was an especially intense class. And at the final kriya we were doing, did the breath retention, Mahabandha, everything, held the breath, and then I passed out. The next thing, I took the breath, I held it. The next thing I knew, it was like I had shot out my body and I was like up in the clouds, just in this like weird dream state. And then I woke up and I was like laying on the ground, and the teacher was like running over to me. So I passed out. And so that's when I realized this isn't a very balanced practice. Basically in Kundalini Yoga, you get really good at like blasting energy out your head. And this can, you're not really containing that energy though. You're not grounding it, right? That's why a lot of Kundalini yogas are pretty spacey. You look in their eyes, they look like they're on LSD. There's like, whoa, I mean, I'm no judgment here. Kundalini Yoga, it's a powerful practice, but for me personally, it wasn't balanced. It wasn't really serving my overall, embodiment. But it was my first kind of real intense energetic discipline. Breathing the U says, for sleep apnea and snoring and breath, read Breath by James Nestor. Yeah, good suggestion. Yeah, if you snore, you basically have sleep apnea. Yes, I have read Jewel in the Lotus. It's an okay book. It's solid overall. It's got some, good practices. I just don't like how they're like, oh, they talk about, I believe this is the book I'm talking about. They mention the serpent breath throughout the book, like use this technique, but it's like, oh, well, if you want to learn the serpent breath, you have to pay $2,000 to take this course. It's like, okay, which really is just it's basically a microcosmic orbit type practice, the serpent breath. Starluster says, with wisdom like there are many ways up the mountain, what do you think of people who don't employ energy cultivation but still reach enlightenment? Are they reaching your same conclusions? So first of all, what is enlightenment? This is a word people throw around a lot. What does it actually mean? For a lot of people, it just means like having a profound insight. Look, I understand theoretically how everything works. It's great. But there's a huge difference between like knowing the truth of everything and being able to actually like affect your reality, right? These may be two completely different things. So I don't really talk about enlightenment at all, because it's not a word that I really use. It's not really like my goal is to become enlightened, because that word doesn't honestly mean much to me. The Taoists talk about immortality, which is a bit different than enlightenment. It's a full body experience. It's an integration of your body, your spirit, your mind, so that you have causality beyond the physical body. You're able to create in the other realms, maybe outlive your body, right? This is completely different than like having like this sense of like, okay, I understand everything in the universe, but what do you do with that, right? So I don't know. Having said that, can people achieve whatever enlightenment is without having a practice? I don't know. For some people, I mean, this is kind of a whole thing we're getting off into here, but maybe some people do experience like spontaneous, some people just have like spontaneous, like awakening experiences, it's going to be different for everyone. Obviously, I do believe that, yes, everyone has their own unique path. And that's kind of the thing with like even internal energy practice. I know a lot of people who've been doing like Tai Chi and Qigong for years, but they don't seem very spiritually, evolved, we could say, right? So it's like there's many factors to this. I don't have a clear answer for this, because I don't really know. I'm still figuring things out myself. I'm still like, how do I get to this super high level of practice? I'm definitely evolving, but it's like it's the thing of like people who talk the talk, but the people who actually make things happen, right? I haven't seen very many people who've really reached a high level on this planet that I'm aware of, right? I don't know, but I know it's there. I know they're out there. Okay, where are we at? All right, my YouTube video for me it's getting a bit skippy, so let me know if you guys can't hear me or anything on YouTube. Royun Sack says, which energy centers are directly related with having a still and clear mind with a higher level of consciousness and being able to perceive things the way they are? Well, um, for me, I would say Dantian work is big because the Dantian is about grounding and when your mind's up here all the time, when you're up here, often your mind's not very calm. Often your mind's very stimulated and running all over the place, right? So working with the Dantian, being able to anchor the mind low in the body is very important to groundedness, to clarity of thought, to balance, and just kind of being versus like thinking, right? Being able to perceive things the way they are. I mean, that's part. I would say it's part heart. The heart is a major kind of in communication with our environment at all times. It's also third eye, like your ability to see. Third eye is more like sight, like you actually see. Some people say it's intuition. I think intuition is more heart, but third eye is actually like you see things, like you see other dimensions, things like that. And crown is kind of universal connection. So I mean, it's really a whole body thing. That's why I'm not like this energy center for that, this energy center for that. For me, it's a whole body cultivation. Everything's working together. It's like you have a guitar. There's these six different strings. If one of them's out of tune, the whole chord you play is going to sound like crap. So it's about tuning everything relative to each other, so the whole system is coherent and in harmony. So basically, cultivate your whole body, cultivate it all. But yeah, Dantian work, any type of meditation is going to help you with this. Dimlo said, had a wet dream, been on no fap for 3 weeks now, had too much heat under the sheets and was on my stomach. It happens. Not a big deal. Getting back on this, we're on a tangent here, but the subject of people reaching enlightenment without really having a specific practice, I will say I'm very skeptical of people who share information who aren't like practitioners, who aren't cultivators, because you kind of wonder like, where's that information really coming from? Are they really living this? And I'm a very skeptical person because I've been down the deepest rabbit holes of new age stuff, of all kinds of stuff, and I've seen a lot of bullshit. I've seen a lot of just manipulation stuff that's just all mental projection. There's no truth to it. That's really what got me into the Taoist practices, because it's like, oh, this is very embodied. I don't need to like, follow this person, whatever, like, I have a guru or something. It's like, I do the practice. I feel it in my body. I experience the results. My consciousness evolves from this. And so, I'm all about, a practical cultivation path. Evolving Soul says, can we rebuild our Jing back? Can you truly rebuild Jing? Like, it's a good question, I will say. And I'm still figuring this out completely, but I will say overall, you can definitely like supplement your Jing. You can improve your overall, energy levels, vitality. But can you rebuild it completely? I believe it's possible, but I don't know anyone who's been able to do it. Because if you can rebuild your Jing, you will be physically immortal. You won't die. You will look 20 years old the rest of your life. I haven't met anyone who's done this. So I believe it's possible, but I haven't learned how to do it yet. But I do believe it's possible. And when I learn the secrets, I will share it with you guys for sure. But overall, you can supplement your Jing. You can, overall improve how you use Jing, conserving it, and supplementing with the Earth's Jing practices for that as well. Tina says, "Do you have suggestions for women for who they can follow on YouTube for qigong and this type of energy work? No Instagram, thanks." Um, Qigong, I mean, I've got plenty of stuff on my YouTube playlist, my Qigong playlist, which is perfectly fine for women as well. As far as like women specific sexual practices, women on YouTube, off the top of my head, um, I'm not sure how much stuff Minka DeVos may have on YouTube, but she's a great teacher of the female practices. Also, Shashi Soluna, Shashi Solluna. She teaches some great practice as well. She's got a YouTube channel, so hope that is helpful for the, I think it's about 5% or less of my YouTube followers are women. Santi Rosales says, people attain too much to techniques and forget of the essence of spirituality. Yeah, I mean, well, to me, it's kind of like you must do some sort of work. Like you definitely have to have some sort of cultivation practice, but at the same time, it's this yin yang balance. It's like you cultivate, set up certain pathways in your body, harmonize your body, clear blockages so that you actually experience clarity. But also, you have to be able to just let things flow. This is kind of Wu Wei. This is a Taoist thought: is that everyone has their own unique path. There's no specific formula for everyone. If there ever is a specific formula, like everyone must do this, it's not the true way. It's like the Tao that can be named is not the true Tao. So I don't know. We're all on this journey, figuring, kind of stumbling around the dark, figuring things out, right? I will say though, without like techniques to keep myself clear, without techniques to clear my mind and ground, um, I have a very difficult time kind of stabilizing my spiritual path. But yes, if you become too technique, obsessed, then you lack that kind of flow, that kind of feminine flow, right? So it's just yin yang balances everything. Royun Sak says, I see on the internet many sources that give knowledge about the energy in the body and how it works. What source is the most accurate and practical, do you think? Mine, number one, everyone else is wrong. Okay. You can only follow my path. If you can't, you're going to go to hell. Okay. um, Joking aside, personally, again, I've studied many different systems, studied with many different teachers. I'll drop, and again, I kind of distill everything I've learned into practical things through what I'm sharing with you guys and in my courses and things. But some people who I really vibe with, I'm gonna drop some names. Michael Wynn, I really love Michael Wynn's kind of cosmology. The theory he teaches is phenomenal. His kind of his Qigong fundamentals are really phenomenal. Um, Damo Mitchell has a lot of great stuff as well. A lot of very practical, effective, realistic techniques, but at the same time, he has a lot of rigidity and everyone else is wrong kind of trip too. So, you kind of but it's like you have for me in studying with teachers, it's always like, okay, I take in the good and I drop the bad. It's like, separate the wheat from the chaff, right? Because we're all human. So every teacher has their ego trips, they have their rigidities. So that's why I think it's good to study with different peoples, because then you kind of see the common things and you experience yourself what actually works. So you can drop, some of the unnecessary baggage. That's been my path anyway. So Michael Wynn, Damo Mitchell's great. Scott Meredith for like pure energy cultivation. His stuff is phenomenal. Obviously, Montauk Chia has a lot of great stuff as well. Bruce Francis, Lam Cam Twin. There's a lot of great teachers out there. But again, it's like you're not going to find all the answers from one person. That's what again, I encourage you guys to study different teachers, find different sources for information. And yeah. Derek Trevino. What's up, brother? Says, just curious. I know you've talked about your workout routine a bit in the past, but what is it looking like nowadays? Trying to figure out a good routine for myself. I've noticed when I hit the gym, although I tend to make good gains, my libido kind of takes a hit. So trying to find a better balance. Yeah. Well, I was doing 3 days of strength training, 3 days of weightlifting in the gym, and then, basically rest days the other days, even though I'm doing, 2, 3 hours plus of yoga, qigong, tai chi, all this stuff. But that's pretty low impact. So yeah, I was doing 3 days of gym workout. So I would do um, shoulders, chest, triceps one day, rest day. Then I would do back and biceps, pull ups, rows, things like that, rest a day. And then I would do legs. And then I would take 2 days off. So that was a 3 day a week. I'm actually, we're starting a new routine right now. I'm just kind of intensifying my training on all levels right now. So I'm doing 4 days a week. I'm doing a lot more cardio too. So um, we'll see how that goes. But anyways, that's kind of what I've been doing. But yeah, listen to your body. Rest is very important, especially when you're doing intensive training. If your body can't recover, then yeah, it puts all of its resources, all of your testosterone, all of that is going into just maintaining your body self-repairing, the muscles you're tearing, things like that. So you have to balance things out for sure. Black Bear says, been feeling like something big is coming. Do you feel anything? I've been feeling something big coming for a decade. I mean, the truth is that massive things are happening. So many levels. The energy of this planet, like the astral plane, shit's crazy right now. We all feel it. That's why, but rather than focusing on that stuff, it's best just to like focus on like what's immediately around me. What can I control? How can I find joy, balance, and harmony within this kind of shit show of planet Earth right now? It's like create beauty within your own immediate space and you create your own heaven. It's like you don't have to get so intertwined with what's happening on the planet. What you focus on grows, and we literally create our own reality by what we focus on and what we do as well, what we act on. And Black Bear also asked, do you own any crypto? Yes, I do have crypto. I've got I've got some different a good portfolio of coins, I will say. I think I have more I have more in crypto than I have in fiat right now, just because, the banking system, it's weird. They could pull it off at any moment. Fiat money is not real. It's just numbers on a computer, which I mean, crypto kind of is too, but it's a little more stable overall, right? So yeah, I recommend you guys put your financial assets into other things that are more real, because the dollars, it's a Babylonian money magic system. It's only going down in value and down and down and down. Ethereal or not says, why do people immediately say something like, hope you don't get prostate cancer when you tell them about semen retention? Because there's this whole, conditioning of like, oh, if if men don't ejaculate every day, they're going to get prostate cancer. It's not true. It's just very, very poor information on this. Most men end up with prostate issues, whether or not they ejaculate frequently. So obviously there's more to it than that. So don't worry about it. People will always say silly, unconscious things. Highway Child says, I often wonder if smoking weed daily lowers masculine energy. In my experience, it definitely does. Smoking weed really burns up a lot of your hormones. Specifically, it increases your prolactin levels. I noticed when I've had weed that I feel very, very yin. It definitely affects testosterone. So I don't recommend smoking weed regularly, like every day. It's going to throw you off hormonally. But if you like, this is the whole thing is like, if you have too much, I'll say this, marijuana is more of like a yin thing. So it's like, it's going to make you more yin. And some people need that. So if you're too excess yang, you can't calm down, your mind's racing, you always feel like you have to be productive, then having a little bit here and there could actually help you balance, so it's all about balance. But obviously having it every day is not going to be very good for you either. Black Bear says, will you ever collaborate with other YouTubers in space? Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to. I've done several collaboration videos with, people in similar. For me though, it's not just like, the semen retention thing's becoming, it's interesting. When I was first making videos, there wasn't that many people talking about semen retention, but now there's a lot more, a lot more attraction to the semen retention thing. But a lot of the information is, it's a mixed quality, we'll say, right? My thing's more just cultivation, sexual energy cultivation. Semen retention is just an aspect of that, but I'm not like on this, everything's about semen retention. It's just one aspect of a cultivation practice. Royun Sachs says, I'm a musician and sometimes I feel that I'm tuned in and I can feel the music, but sometimes it feels like I'm a robot. Would love to know your view about it since you're a musician as well. I've totally been there. It's like, how do you be in the flow? It's really like, it's about being in the flow. It's about feeling because, it's like when you're doing a performance, you could be playing a piece and it's like, when your heart's there, you're feeling it. You're just like, it's flowing out of you and you're like, yes, you're feeling everything. Then another night you say that you play the exact same piece, maybe like, uh, uh, from a logical perspective, yeah, you're hitting all the right notes, the right timing, but your heart's not really there. It's just like, so yeah, I've definitely experienced this. And for me, it's just about, it's really, how do you stay inspired? How do you stay in that flow? For me, sexual Kung Fu practices are really helpful for this, for staying in that flow state. And also like having a break from it sometimes. Like I noticed that when I stopped playing my instrument every single day, like, I used to practice guitar like I practice qigong and energy cultivation now. I used to practice for like 3 hours a day, and I got really good. But I noticed that like sometimes it was hard for me. Like I just didn't quite have that creativity. Like it was, I had to like really, when I was writing music, it was like things just didn't flow after a while. And I noticed when I would like take a break from it, go do something else for a while, maybe for days, and then I would wait until like the creative juices were just like burning in me until I really had something to say. Then I'd pick up the instrument and just like, boom, it would flow out. So it's like kind of build up that desire, so to speak, right? It's just like making love. It's like, how do you build desire? Sometimes distance creates that, right? Or there's other things as well, find inspiration, watch cool movies, go on trips, go spend time in nature, get inspired. Just a Girl and Her Dog says, what's the best way to introduce a man to this entire world? Is there one great intro video or a book or something? Good question. Obviously you can share any of my stuff with them, but it kind of depends. Like, okay. Multi-Orgasmic Man by Montauk Chia would be a great introductory book because it's a little more practical. It's less of like, I mean, I'm not sure, what your man's into. Like, if he's more in the like spiritual path and stuff, then he might like some of the more spiritual stuff. But like Multi-Orgasmic Man from Montauk Chia is very practical. It's very just like, hey, men can have multiple orgasms. Here's some information about it. So it would be a good starting point, I would say. That was kind of what introduced me to this work. Black Bear says, will you? Oh, I already read that. Derek Trevino says, my girlfriend, because she seems to want me to do it. I'm not sure if there was more to that. Sometimes questions don't get posted on YouTube properly. So if there's more to that, type it out. I'm not sure what that meant. Derek, or sorry, I sort of said that. Black Bear says, how do you feel about Mark Zuck's metaverse? Yeah. I mean, this is the Matrix. This is this AI agenda, this digital world agenda of like controlling humanity, making them slaves to, hold on, I got a spam. I got to get out of here. All right. Where was I at? Yeah, the metaverse. This is the Matrix. This is this whole, agenda of basically making people controlled in completely intertwined with AI, like the transhumanism. Like, how do we really remove people's free will and their minds and make them completely addicted to technology to the point where it's a weird thing. It's a whole rabbit hole that it's bizarre, but yeah. I mean, you think about how much, you know, I remember what it was like before we had smartphones. It was like you used to like call your friends, be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's hang out." And like you do things, you go do things in person. And now, you hang out with friends. There's like presence. You're there. You're doing things. Now everyone's just like on their phones. Walking down the street, hanging out with friends. You see people out on dates and they're on their phones. It's like this slow introduction of the kind of technology, uh, transhumanism, right? Getting people really, really hooked on electronic devices. It's a very strange thing. So may tie into the old injectable thing people are getting as well. I don't know. Wes Elb 2001 says, "Hi mate, hope you're doing well. I've been doing NoFap, now focusing on moving the energy. Best to practice belly breaths and then move up to microcosmic orbit meditation." Yeah, I mean, breath work, kind of anchoring the mind and the body is a solid place to start, and then work with the microcosmic orbit. I recommend working with Don Tien breathing as well. It's on my YouTube channel, but overall, microcosmic orbit's solid to start moving that energy through your body. Doing some qigong as well would be great. Divinely Attached says, "I just got into this practice and I have been practicing the Dantian breathing and I have been feeling heat. Is this progress?" Definitely progress. You're feeling something, so something's happening. So yeah, keep it going. That heat will just increase. It'll become more kind of thick. The thickness starts to build in the Dantian as the chi builds there. And then you want to kind of, circulate that energy as well as it builds. Man, what's with the so I'm seeing this obviously on my channel, but I've seen it on like almost every channel. There's like these spam, like porn comments on everyone's channel. It's like, uh it's interesting. It's this huge spam thing going on. I just had to pull one out of my live chat here. Christian Mooney, what's up, brother? Says, "I have a question. How do you personally connect with like-minded people? I kind of feel I'm becoming isolated, looking to talk to others about the stuff, especially since COVID. There's been a massive rift between myself and people." Yeah, it's a good question. And for me, I meet a lot of people when I'm like at events, retreats. I go to, I go to training retreats. I met some of my really good friends and kind of co-cultivators at Michael Wynn's summer retreats. Those are great, so something like that, like qigong classes, yoga classes, just kind of conscious work that people are doing. If you can go to these events, you'll often meet pretty cool people at them. So I would say, that kind of space is a good place to meet people for sure. Yoga classes, breathwork classes, meditation, qigong for sure. Alan Lima says, "How many days should you wait until ejaculation?" So it depends on your age, your health level, everything else. Like if you're really, really weak, if you're really depleted, you have some like chronic thing, I would limit ejaculations to, I would go as long as I could without ejaculating. But if you're really healthy, really exuberant, you have a lot of energy, then based on your age, kind of the Taoist kind of classical formulas are that in your early 20s, you could ejaculate about every 4 days without seriously losing energy. Once you hit 30, you can go about a week. So ejaculate once a week without seriously losing energy. And then when you're 40, it's more like 2 weeks, right? So it just kind of goes like more and more as you age, right? So that's kind of like the minimal time period that I would say you should go without ejaculating. Derek Trevino, what is it that your girlfriend wants you to do? CJ says, "Can Dantian breathing help with digestion and stuff?" Potentially. I can't make any medical claims here, but a big part of digestion issues for people is a lack of grounding. It's kind of this earth element, spleen is kind of deficient, right? I experienced this myself. I used to have pretty weak digestion. So Dantian breathing could help you kind of build more of a kind of this heat and this fire in this, kind of intestinal area. Um, so it could be helpful for that. I think that specifically working for digestion, grounding though, Zhan Zhuang is a little more geared towards that. Not that that's the point of the practice, but for me, I noticed when I started practicing Zhan Zhuang, this standing meditation Qigong, my digestion and my grounding significantly improved. So Dantian breathing may help, but I think Zhan Zhuang is like really going to kind of address that potentially. Okay, I'm about to lose my Instagram feed. I'll pull it back up. I've got 20 seconds left. It cuts me off at an hour. So I can't really answer your question, Ascension Flame. So jump back on and ask it again in like half a minute. My apologies. All right, let me put this Instagram video up. Give me a second, guys. Any more questions on YouTube, feel free to send them in. But yeah, digestion's big, spleen, stomach, right? So grounding, kind of like your earth too, like having strong earth, like which is really like stability, a feeling of safety, um, trust, openness. So just like having a strong, sense of safety and security, really, which I know is difficult for a lot of people right now. Okay. I felt my stomach starts making noise when I do Dantian breathing. I think that's a good sign of moving things. Yeah, totally. That often happens is all kinds of phenomena will happen when you're doing these kind of energetic practices, but especially the Dantian practice. Like for me, I've noticed sometimes I'll have these like cramps, like a spasm type thing there. It's quite interesting. Divinely Attached said, "How do you beat the flat line on semen retention? I've been going through it for about maybe 3 weeks. I'm kind of recovering." Yeah, so I kind of talked about this a little bit ago, but I recommend doing energy cultivation practices, qigong, meditation. Um, also like getting out into nature and just kind of getting away from electronic devices, like really tuning back into the natural world, the natural flow of things. Balancing out your brain chemistry uh, and things like that. Stanley Dombrowski says, "Hey, Jonathan, can you speak to overwhelm in regards to feeling like there are so many practices, qigong, meditation, yoga exercises, sexual kung fu, etc. Feeling stressed out, which is not the point." It's good. It's a good point. I definitely feel you where you're coming from. I've experienced that at points in my life as well. It's like I'm learning all this stuff. How do I balance it all? I would say just pick a few things. Maybe like it depends what your goals are. Like, what are you really trying to accomplish and achieve, right? But just pick one or two practices and just work with those for like a week, 2 weeks, or a month, whatever. So, like, for me, my number one practices in Qigong would be the Zhan Zhuang practice, the standing meditation. So, do that every day for 10, 15 minutes. And then maybe do like, 10 minutes of sitting, whether it's Dantian practice or breath work, whatever. So, that's a solid practice right there, right? And then you can just, once you get comfortable with that, you can try adding another thing, or alternating with different practices. But overall, again, just pick what you feel is most effective and helpful for you, and just focus on that practice. Simplify it for yourself. Carl Johnson says, I have a question. After a long streak of semen retention, 75 days, a toxic ex-girlfriend came back hitting me up by message trying to bring drama. I felt great, but after this kind of drama, I feel a drain. Any idea? Well, stop, you know, communicating with this person. Just cut them off. Like if it's this, it means you have this kind of entrance in your energy field and someone's pulling in, hooking on, and, you know, kind of getting you there. So seal it up, drop the communication. This is about setting boundaries, having strong boundaries. Seven Sin says, hey, John, is it normal that I feel a heat sensation around my feet when I do testicle breathing? I mean, any sort of sensation I would say is going to be normal. Well, normal, but basically everyone's going to experience the practices differently and it will cause all kinds of different things to happen. So, you know, it's fine. I wouldn't worry about it. It's just the kind of the energetic experience you have when you do this practice, and maybe kind of activating your grounding. That water energy is kind of connecting you to the energy or something. All right. Well, I think we got through all the questions. Okay, Carl Johnson says, I see. Thanks for your answer. So people can steal our energy even by message. Well, the thing is they send that message, you see it, and then you think about that person. It triggers the thought of that person, and it's an ex-girlfriend. So obviously you have, probably this physical connection with them. So you start energetically connecting with that person, whether you're aware of it or not. You think of that person and bam, you're connecting. So that's what's happening here, right? So it's not so much just the message, it's what the message kind of causes in your field, in your mind, and things like that. You start to connect with that person energetically. So just understanding that that's what happens is happening. So whether you can either bring your relationship to kind of a completion or just stop talking to them, just cut them off. Okay, Sevenson says, I was trying to control my arousal when I was doing it. It started at my feet and went upward. Okay, so you're working with aroused sexual energy. So yeah, I don't know, you're experiencing kind of this activation of the feet channels, the leg channels. That's cool. It's interesting. Yeah, all kinds of things will happen. Okay, guys. Well, I think I'm going to close it up here. So thanks everyone for joining. It's always good hanging out with you guys. I will be back next week, same time. I'll be around. So I'll see you guys then. And in the meantime, take care, do your practice, train yourself, get inspired, and I'll see you guys next time.